According to insiders in the military-industrial system, the production line of Shenyang Aircraft Industry Group is now operating at an astonishing pace, with one J35 aircraft completed every 72 hours. This speed is supported not just by a single assembly line, but by the collaborative evolution of the entire aviation manufacturing system. Titanium alloy 3D printing, integrated large-scale structural components, and full-process digital modeling sound highly advanced and sophisticated. Although the J35 is positioned as a multi-role fighter and does not involve the same level of investment as the J20, it is still a pinnacle achievement of Chinese aviation industry. Currently, the Chinese Navy, Air Force, and Pakistan Air Force are eagerly awaiting it. Early reports indicate that Pakistan has sent personnel to China to familiarize themselves with the aircraft, and it is highly likely that J-35s with Pakistan Air Force livery already exist, though it remains unclear whether they are still in China or have been delivered to Pakistan. Compared to U.S. military-industrial giants like Lockheed Martin and Boeing, which face severe production capacity shortages and even maintenance difficulties due to China's sanctions on rare earths and key components, the value of China as the world's factory is once again evident. Some worry that, in the context of comprehensive economic confrontation with the U.S., producing so many advanced weapons might lead China to repeat the Soviet Union's mistakes. However, there is no need for concern. Advanced fighters like the J-20 and J-35 can effectively boost industrial manufacturing, create vast supply chains, and drive upgrades in the manufacturing sector. China is entirely different from the Soviet Union, which focused solely on heavy industry while neglecting people's livelihoods. Moreover, the U.S. today is not the same U.S. that once accounted for half of global manufacturing output. On the contrary, the U.S. now faces difficulties not only in heavy industry, but also in light industry, which has declined even more severely. The combined manufacturing capabilities of the U.S. and its Western allies cannot compete with China. Suggestions that China should abandon military-industrial development to stimulate consumption are utterly laughable. Without strong industrial demand to boost manufacturing and create more jobs, how can ordinary people have money to spend? Americans can consume through printing money and borrowing, but China does not have that capability. Besides, debt-driven consumption would only lead China to follow in the footsteps of Europe and the U.S., where per capita GDP appears high, but urban infrastructure lags behind, and prices are exorbitant. During the escalating China-U.S. tariff war, the U.S. government ordered a halt to the supply of aviation engines to China, putting the C919 at risk of supply chain disruptions. However, China's CJ2000 engine quickly filled the gap. Relying on its massive domestic market, China is no longer concerned about U.S. embargoes. Without sustained investment in the military-industrial sector, China could not have mastered aviation engine technology. In the past, Chinese fighters used Russian engines, which were expensive, had short lifespans, and were difficult to maintain. Now, China's military aviation engines have caught up with or even surpassed their U.S. counterparts in technical performance. This complex supply chain has enabled China to build a vast talent pool in advanced materials and aerodynamics, with countless research institutes, universities, and companies involved in development. The results are not only applicable to military industries, but also have broad value in aerospace, civil aviation, shipbuilding, automotive, and other sectors. The China-U.S. technology war shows that the U.S. has nearly exhausted all its measures, yet failed to cripple China. On the contrary, China has used rare earths alone to hold the U.S. and the West by the throat, infuriating their politicians. Those who urge China to consider its international image and ease rare earth sanctions are as malicious as those who advocate abandoning the arms race with the U.S. Consider this. If the U.S. held the advantage in rare earths, how would it treat China? Would these Western spokespeople urge the U.S. to go easy on China? Would Europe's sanctimonious critics condemn the US? CCTV's video on the J35 mentioned advanced technologies and materials like 3D printing and titanium alloys, showing extensive factory footage, indicating that the J35's confidentiality level is no longer high and it will soon be revealed to the public. China is also developing multiple sixth-generation fighters, some of which have already undergone successful test flights. The J35 serves to complement the J20 and support core allies. Releasing more information is intended to warn the US and its vassal states to recognize their own strength and not to provoke China militarily. Besides China, the happiest party is likely Pakistan, which has secured a capacity of 40 J35s. At the J35's production rate, Pakistan could establish a J35 combat system in the coming years, becoming the most powerful air force in the vast region from South Asia to the Middle East. Pakistan, with its J-10 and F-17 fighters, combined with Chinese radars, early warning aircraft, air defense missiles, and data link technology, can already comprehensively overpower the Indian Air Force. The addition of the J-35 will secure Pakistan's air superiority for the next 20 years. India's so-called fifth-generation AMCA fighter remains a PowerPoint presentation and may not enter service even 20 years from now. Its poor performance in air combat has made the US hesitant to supply F-35s to India. Moreover, India has not yet paid the remaining balance for its Rafale fighters. To acquire F-35s, India would need to agree to many US conditions, pay a steep price, and face strict restrictions on the aircraft's use. Pakistan's adoption of the J-35 means its defense system will be fully integrated into China's weapons ecosystem. In the future, if the J-35 cannot handle a situation, equipping an export version of China's sixth-generation fighter would be a natural step. China will also sell the J-10C to Bangladesh, putting India under pressure from three sides. In reality, the US does not fear China's J-35, as both the US and China are true nuclear powers with second-strike capabilities, making direct war highly unlikely. The J-35 threatens the countries that act as the US's guard dogs. Since China's full-range test of the Dongfeng 31G intercontinental missile last year, the US has been well aware that a full-scale war with China would mean mutual destruction, so it has no intention of direct conflict. Instead, it seeks to use proxy states to test the sharpness of China's sword. China, too, is eager to test its capabilities, but India is not a significant target, as it would collapse too easily. It remains to be seen who will volunteer as the next test subject. If no one steps forward, Pakistan may have to test India again. I predict that after Pakistan equips the J-35, it will take a tough stance against India. If Modi provokes with boasts again, Pakistan will gain another opportunity to test its weapons and secure substantial discounts through combat data. What is a true partner? The friendship between China and Pakistan is what defines a real partnership. India's so-called partnership with Iran involves refusing to condemn Israel and having numerous Indians work as Mossad agents. I particularly hope the US sells F-35s to India, allowing Pakistan to test the true capabilities of US fifth-generation fighters. This would be far better than direct China-US conflict. What are your thoughts? Feel free to leave a comment and discuss.